We have a Q&A section here in the Zoom. Feel free to ask any questions. We'll check back periodically and answer them as we go. I'm going to hand it over to Patrick, who's going to graciously demo everything for us. We're so excited to share this with you. We have a Q&A section. Patrick, go ahead.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is morning for me here. I've got my cup of coffee. Introducing myself, I'm Patrick Lightbody. I am the co-founder of Reclaim. I've been working on this problem for almost 5 years. And prior to that, I was a senior manager at a growing software company, publicly traded software company, leading up the product organization. And in that life, I also had lots of challenges with my schedule. And so that's where really the idea that Henry and I got to start Reclaim came from, was our own personal lived experience of trying to be more intentional with our time and juggle and adapt to all the changes that are going on in our personal lives and in our business lives. And so, we've been hard at work at this. I know many of you have been using Reclaim for potentially many years. And this new update that is coming out soon is a culmination of a whole bunch of things we've learned along the way, and should also set us up for some really exciting stuff that's coming later this year as well. And I'll speak to a little bit of that. But why don't we just dive right in? We don't have, this feature is like in private beta right now, and we don't have a great demo environment. So we're going to be demoing from a staging environment. So this is like cutting edge stuff that you're going to be seeing here. But it is what should be available to all of you if you're on the private beta right now, or will be invited in the near future. We do anticipate opening this up to a public beta very soon here, could be in the next couple of weeks. And so either way, you should be able to get your hands on everything you're seeing here in the near future. All right, so I'm going to dive right in, and I believe, Elizabeth, you'll be watching, if there's any chat questions and things like that. I got a thumbs up there. That's great. And so we'll be able to take questions and make this very personalized as well. So feel free to use and take advantage of that chat and direct where you'd like us to focus. So first thing I want to highlight, this is a blank account. We're like truly blank. There's nothing on this calendar. There's no habits. There's no tasks. This is just a blank environment for us to check out the new functionality. And the first thing I want to start with is the new habits capability. We will get to the smart meetings. That's probably the most interesting part of this feature. But the new habits capability was really a byproduct of the work we were putting into the smart meetings. And we figured, why not bring all those lessons learned and those new capabilities back into habits? So I expect probably all of you are using habits. It's our most popular feature. And there's some really cool stuff that's coming up with this new capability. We won't be rolling out both Habits and Habits V2. We're just going to, when the beta opens up, we'll convert all of your habits to this new platform you're seeing here. And we'll also convert any smart one-on-ones that you have to smart meetings. So I'm going to go ahead and actually I'll start with a template here. So I'm just going to go stand up a lunch habit. You're all pretty familiar with this most likely. This is probably of our most popular feature. The most popular way to use our feature is to get a little bit of flexible time in the middle of the day to take a break and get some food. So you can see here, it looks pretty similar, not a lot different than what you've seen before, but there's a few other options that you haven't seen. So for example, this one, if your habit can't be scheduled, should we just pull it off the calendar? That's what we do today with habits. But sometimes people want to see it on the calendar still, so they know that they're missing it and they can possibly move it to another time. This is especially important with multi-person meetings. There are new frequency options. This is probably one of our most popular requested additions to habits. So there's all the classic, weekly, daily, monthly that you've seen before, picking the different days. But there are also, if you go to custom, the ability to go to any arbitrary. So maybe I only want to eat lunch every 3 weeks and then I fast for 2 weeks straight. I don't know. You can pick lots of different options there. You can get into the day of the month. I know lots of folks have been looking for this for like last Thursday of the month or the first Monday of the month, doing bookkeeping or accounting types of workflows. I will note, just like Google Calendar recurring events, if you pick something like the 31st, it won't happen on days that don't have the 31st. So you'll want to make sure you use the last option, not the 29th, 30th, or 31st, because you won't get it some months. But yeah, there's a lot of great recurrence options. I'm going to stick with just weekly for this one. But I want to show you a couple interesting things that come up out of that. So the first thing to note is that right off the bat, it's coming out here on the calendar, and it is a true recurring event in Google Calendar. And so what that means is those frequency options you just saw me selecting, they actually apply as recurring events on the calendar. It does mean that the scheduling still, the adaptive part of the scheduling still follows what Reclaim normally does, which is 3 weeks if you're on our free plan, 8 weeks if you're on our starter plan, or 12 weeks if you're on our business plan. But even beyond that window, if I go out towards the end of this year, you can see the lunch habit is still on the calendar. We put a little note on there, so do pay attention to these descriptions. They're very helpful in understanding how the platform works. But that's one of the first things I want to highlight is that both with Smart Meetings and the New Habits platform, we are leaning into using recurring events. Now, there's some tricks with that because recurring events are very fixed in their own nature. I'm sure you've all used recurring events with Google Calendar, and they're not adaptive the way Reclaim is. And so we're kind of trying to figure out how to get the best of both worlds. And I think we've accomplished that with this new platform. So looking back over here, let's see, let me reload and make sure that our scheduler may not have kicked in yet. Let me go ahead and activate that. So I'm going to, mark myself as busy just so we can see the habits starting to adapt. And while we're waiting for that to go through, another thing I want to highlight is you'll notice there's no, right now we are not, we may change this before we go to beta, but we are not putting those free and busy emojis on the events. You can still do that. And so one of the other new capabilities in this beta is control over these emojis and also whether those tips are included. We do recommend you don't turn off the tips until you've read a few of them and you really understand how the platform works. But you can see here, you can control where the emoji appears, which emojis. This screen is going to get updated very soon here to also give you a little more detail on what all those emojis mean. But probably the ones you've seen the most are those free and busy emojis. And those ones, you know what I'm thinking are environment, or staging environment. This is what I get for testing in a staging environment. I may be flipping over to a demo environment here in a second and turning the feature on because this may not be working right now. Apologies for the delay here. Go ahead. Yeah, apologies. I'm going to just switch us over to our demo environment. Give me 1 second, Elizabeth. I don't know if we have elevator music or something, but this is my fault for picking our staging environment. I can get a good demo environment up in just 1 second.
I wish I did have elevator music to play right now.
Yeah, it's all right. I am going to. I just have to activate. I was hoping not to disrupt our coworkers who also are in the middle of often demoing to customers and whatnot. And so we're kind of straddling this moment where we want to demo the current product, but we also obviously in cases like this want to show off the new stuff. And so I'm just going to jump right in and activate it on our official demo account, and we'll just roll with that. Apologies, 1 moment.
We've got some encouragement from Shai, one of our viewers. All good demos break. We know it's good because the engineer presenting is excited to show the bleeding edge. Bravo, Patrick. Thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate it. The demo gods strike again, don't they? All right, here we go. Share my screen and voila. All right. We are on our, if any of you are fans of, well, this would be the US version of The Office, but we name all of our internal demo accounts and test accounts after Office characters in the US version. And so hence here we've got Kevin Malone as one of our demo accounts. And as you can see, this calendar is a lot more full, and it has got access to Habits V2 as well. Hey, and it's us. It's very meta. That's an advertisement for us. All right, I'm going to go ahead and actually, now that I've got some existing ones, I'm going to go ahead and convert this one over. So these conversions, if you're on our private beta, you'll see these buttons. The plan is in the public beta, there'll just be one mega convert that just brings all your stuff over, like I mentioned. So coming back over here, we'll see that we've got this this lunch habit that was being scheduled. And let me pull up the Google Calendar. We'll get right back to where we were before. And we should see momentarily lunch both getting removed. This is the old habit, and the new habit kind of swapping in and taking its place. So bear with me as that the scheduler kind of does its work. There's I don't know, probably my rough math is 8 weeks times 10 events, that it has to do some adjustments. So 80 calendar adjustments. And so it may take a minute for this first one to cycle through. We can see some of those events are getting moved around right now. So one of the things I wanted to highlight was, and actually, let me make sure, yeah, the lunch is critical. One of the things I wanted to highlight is that you will be able to, with these lunch habits, or all these habits now, you'll see you're actually an attendee to your own habit. That's one of the new kind of unusual design characteristics. And as an attendee, you can say yes or no to them. And by default, it starts as maybe. And what we're doing with maybe is we're using that as the signal that it's still free and flexible. And so you'll see here that it says private and free. And so I was mentioning those emojis earlier. So if we go over here, we're not showing those emojis, and instead the signal is these hash marks right here, because that's what Google looks like when you're in the like tentative state where you're like, I might do it, I might not. When it flips to busy, we will also flip your RSVP to yes, and it fills in automatically. So we think this will be kind of just a visually more appealing way to look at it. And so, of course, now I'm seeing that maybe the problem is not just in our staging environment, but possibly in our production environment. So apologies. We'll see if smart meetings gets sorted out here in a second. But that's one thing I wanted to highlight is the ability to see your status here. And what's cool about that is you can also just say no to any habit. These new smart what we call habits V2 is you can just say no right in Google Calendar, and that's the equivalent of going into Reclaim and saying, find me a different time to do this. It'll carve out that specific period of time as an exception for the scheduler and find the next best time. So it's a really easy way for you to kind of go through your calendar for the day and say like, no, I'm not going to do that. Or you can delete it and that'll just skip it for the entire period. So that's one thing to look at. Another thing that we can see is there's this really nice view where you can see all the periods that are being scheduled, and we'll even highlight the ones that are getting skipped automatically for you. And so, previously you probably have noticed with habits that if something was skipped, it just didn't show in this list. With the new habits and smart meetings, we will show you every single period that it should have scheduled for, whether it is scheduling or whether it didn't get scheduled and why it didn't get scheduled, including if you skipped it, we'll give you the very easy option to unskip it. And so there's some really nice capabilities there. And you'll also notice that as you click on these things, it says up here, viewing here, with the date that you clicked on. And if you click edit, just like a recurring event, the edits are relative to where you made those changes. So for this and following. So that's one of the other nice things about how we kind of merge the best of both worlds of natural recurring events and regular or kind of the dynamic scheduling that Reclaim offers. All right, so something's up with the habit. I'm going to go ahead and press my luck and see if smart meetings are a little bit better. And I'm just going to keep it real simple, do a test meeting. I'm not going to invite anybody else to it. I'm going to say once a week. And I'm going to, just for fun, schedule it early in the morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Monday through Friday. And that is it. And go ahead and save that. And we're going to see that land on the calendar here. Where are we? Oh, never mind. I apologize. I set it as 2 o'clock for the ideal time. I'm going to set that to 7 a.m. for the ideal time. We'll come back to this in a second. I just want to make sure everything's looking good from a scheduling standpoint. So here we go. We've got that test meeting, and it is scheduled for now 7:30. And yeah, that's looking better. I think it's moving around right now. So let's give it a chance. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there, and now the lunch is scheduling. Okay, so I'm not sure what that glitch was. This is why we're still in beta, but look at this. The lunch is filling in. And one of the things, as I mentioned, is that the RSVP changes changed from maybe to yes. And the reason it changed is because there's not a lot of time anymore. You can see here as well, lunch it was squeezed in at 11:30. And look at these hints. They're a little different now. It's giving you, we have a few different short, pithy hints to provide, like, if you don't like this time, decline it, as I was saying. Smart meetings seem to be scheduling as well. So I'm glad to see that. I'm going to go ahead and delete one of these. I'm going to say, this week's test meeting is not going to happen. So we're going to delete that instance. Notice that deletion prompted the same kind of behaviors you see in Google Calendar, where it's like, do you want to do it for this and following, for all events? So in this case, I deleted it for the one event. And so if I come back in here, you can see that the period of time that was this week, the March 3rd period, has been skipped. And so I can also come in and, we haven't released that yet, but coming later today, there'll be an option to unskip it. I can also go forward and skip this way. So I could say, you know what, I want to skip a couple weeks from now, and we will see that the March 17th one, I might have missed it. Let's see, this is the week of March 17th. So I would expect this will disappear in just a moment. So let's see if that happened. Oh, it disappeared in front of our eyes. So there it goes. So you can skip a couple different ways, but we're really leaning heavily into working naturally with the Google Calendar capabilities. So for example, I want to get back to a better demo that actually isn't just a test meeting. I'm going to show you how you can also very quickly get rid of a smart habit or a smart meeting. And I can just say, I want to delete this for all events. And what we'll see is that momentarily it disappeared. So that's another nice pro tip, is you can come in and change your recurring series right from within Google. I might want to say, actually, I want to do lunch every day. And you could save it right here. And that would be the equivalent of coming back into your habit and selecting these. So there's this really nice synchronization, not only between the individual events as they schedule through your calendar, but actually the recurring definition itself. Okay, so now that our environment is back online and seemingly working a little better, I want to highlight a few things here back in habits. One is, just like with habits, as some of you who've been with us for a while know, this priority capability came out through the back half of last year. That is now fully GA'd and also, of course, available in this new platform. And so as such, you can still apply low priority, higher priority to all of your habits. But one of the cool things that we've introduced is the concept of dependencies. And I know several of you probably on the call have been asking for this. So I want to show you an example of how that's going to work out. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm not a big gym person. I just sort of do light jogging as my form of exercise. But I'm going to pretend that I am a person who works out with weights, and I have arm day and leg day. Mostly I like doing this one because I get to go pick a silly leg emoji. So I'll pick a turkey leg emoji instead. And I'm going to say that I want to do this on Saturdays or Sundays, but not, I'm only working out on the weekends. I'm clearly not a good gym person. And normally, ideally, I want to do it on Sundays. So that's leg day. So I'm going to go ahead and set that all up. So I'll schedule that. And now I'm going to make another one, arm day. And let's see if there's a fun arm emoji. Probably not. I could go with the prosthetic. That's good. And I'll pick this, and I'll say, you know what, the weekends are fine. I don't mind doing it on the weekends. And let's just say I forgot what day I was going to do arm day and leg day on, so I picked Sunday again. But this time, I want to say, you know what, I definitely don't want to do it on the same day as leg day. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule that. And so remember, these are recurring events. And so they will initially appear. And if we go find the next Sunday, they're going to be sitting right on top of each other. This means our scheduler hasn't run. But in a moment, we're going to start to see some interesting behaviors. And if I'm going to change my settings actually and start. I don't know about all you, but I like my week starting on Mondays, not on Sundays. So let's flip that around so we can see. And right there, we can already see now, even though ideally I accidentally said I want to do arm day and leg day on Sunday, I also said they shouldn't be on the same day. And the scheduler adapted accordingly. And so going out, you can see it moved one to the other one. If you go out past our scheduling window, you'll see that collision again. But as time rolls on, the scheduler will fix that up. Just so you can, okay, seems people like the dependencies. What's cool is there's other kinds, not just on different days, but you can say, this has to happen before this thing if they're going to be on the same day, or it has to happen after this thing if they're going to be on the same day. So, maybe you just don't want to exercise after you just ate lunch. You always want to do that before you ate lunch. Or maybe what's really cool is you can actually mix habits and meetings. And so you might have a weekly team meeting and you want to prep for the team meeting and you want to make sure that's definitely happening before the meeting. And so it's a really great new feature. We are going to be bringing this capability. Of course, I know dependencies for tasks people have been asking about as well. We're going to take all the things we've learned with this and bring it over to tasks soon. So, stay tuned on that front. The other thing I want to highlight that is a very popular feature request is target calendars. And so a lot of folks have said it would be really nice if I could schedule my habits to a different calendar than the primary calendar, the main account. And so you can see that is right here. There are pros and cons to this. I do want to just highlight it. The upside, of course, is that you can reduce clutter, meaning you could do something like, show and hide your personal calendar as you see fit. The downside of it is that it's only scheduling on that calendar. And you may already know this, but the only calendar that matters when coworkers are looking to book time with you is your primary calendar on the work account. And so if you have people that are doing find a time inside of Google, you might still want to keep the habit on the primary calendar. But if you don't have that problem, if you're scheduling via Reclaim scheduling links, for example, or other kinds of scheduling services like Calendly, or if you're just scheduling, by hand, you can, then you don't really need to worry about that. And what's great is that by scheduling habits and smart meetings to other calendars, you can show and hide them and reduce the clutter visually. And of course, you can pick your own color. When you're on a separate calendar, you can pick any color you want, not just the 11 preset colors that Reclaim provides. And so that's another really popular feature request that's coming out with this release. For habits, we'll let you pick any connected calendar. So if you want to be able to point it at a different calendar, you just come in here and you pick another calendar, or it might auto be picked for you because it's already being pulled in via calendar sync. For smart meetings, we are for now only letting you pick calendars that are primary calendars of any connected Google account. The reason we do that is generally invites make sense to come from the main account rather than getting an invitation from a calendar named personal. But we're considering making that an option as well. We've had a few folks already ask that we could do that. So that's another really popular feature request that we're getting addressed. And I already showed this, but I will say might have been our number 4 most popular feature request is controls over these emojis. And so you'll also have that with habits and the new habits and smart meetings. Okay, let's jump into now smart meetings, because this is where it gets really interesting. With smart meetings, it looks a lot like habits, but I'm going to go ahead and make a team meeting here. And I'm going to invite a couple different people to it. You can see there are some more of our office characters, including actually real people. So I'm going to go ahead and invite Anthony. Anthony, you're dragged into this demo now. Anthony's one of our coworkers. And a couple things to highlight. For people who don't have access, who are not on Reclaim, we make it really clear right from the beginning that we can't see who they are, like or see their availability or even their time zone in this case. And so we give you some clear options. It doesn't mean you can't schedule the smart meeting. It just means it's going to behave like any other meeting would. If you just throw someone onto the attendee list, it's not really going to consider their availability. And so we highlight that really clearly here. And we give you some options to correct it. They don't have to be on Reclaim. There are some benefits to that. And they can either be on their own free Reclaim account, or they can join your team. But they can also just share their calendar with you. And so we guide you through those different steps, and you can talk to them about what is the best option for them. Or you can just leave it as is. If we don't have calendar access, just know that we're going to schedule without considering their availability, because we don't know their availability. You can also make attendees required or optional. This aligns to the same optional flag in Google Calendar. And I'll show you that in action as well. And then finally, we're trying to give you a lot better clarity on the ranges of times that we might be scheduling on. So here, I'm in the Pacific Coast, so US West Coast, but Anthony's on the East Coast. And you can see already that it's using my meeting hours, which are 8 to 6, and Anthony's meeting hours, 9 to 6. And we're showing you the overlap of time. But let's just say that actually for this meeting, I really only want to do it in the mornings and not on Wednesdays. And we can give you that clarity right there. So we're taking care of the kind of time zone math that you got to worry about, and giving you a nice visual indicator. And so what this means is this thing can only schedule Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday between these 3 ranges of times. Now you can come over here and you can see you then also are asked to pick the ideal day, and you can pick 1 or more ideal days. And so, for example, I could say this is a 3 times a week meeting, and ideally it should be on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, but Friday is allowed. And so it's subtle. We're still working on this UI, but notice Friday has that green circle around it, while Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday do not. If you pick a day that can't be scheduled, we'll highlight that for you. And that's because it's yellow here. I said it's not available for me. You could still technically pick it. Our scheduler is just going to pull it off the calendar because it's not allowed. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and pick it on Thursdays. And so it may schedule Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday, but it ideally is on Thursdays. And I'll go ahead and say well, let's see. I know saying something like 4 p.m. is probably not a good time, because it only is between my time zone and my preferences and Anthony's. Really, it's between 9 and 12. And so I'm going to go ahead and say, let's do this at the beginning of the day. So actually, this is the Tony and Patrick weekly check-in. And that's a one-on-one. And starting potentially as soon as today, because today's a Thursday. And here's this thing that I kind of glossed over a moment ago, which is the leave it on the calendar or remove it from the calendar. I don't know if this is going to give us one of those scenarios, but I'll force it in a second here. I'm not going to pick video conferencing. I'm going to come back to location, conference rooms, and video conferencing here in a second, but I'm going to go ahead and save this. And what I want to show you is how this meeting manifests. So again, you're going to see it initially. It's going to look like it's clashing. Just give it a second for the scheduler to kick through. That's natural because it is a recurring event. We have to put it on the calendar and it goes out into the future, but our scheduler will then kick in and start activating and moving around. So a couple things to note. You can see that optional attendee is still right there. And then we could also see Anthony. I'm going to say, you know what? Actually, I actually don't need Jim on this meeting. I forgot I included him. This is just for me and Tony. So I'm going to save that for all events. And I wanted to show you how we synchronize these two things. And so if I come back in here, still working on updating the UI dynamically. Sometimes you'll see me refresh. That's just stuff we're still working on for the beta. Our scheduler may be running, so that might be why it hasn't updated. But in a moment here, we'll see Jim will get pulled from the recurring series automatically because I pulled Jim from it on the Google Calendar side. Couple things to also highlight. We have locking still in place. You're probably already familiar with that. It's locking today because I have our default setting is to lock smart meetings the same day they're happening. And so it's locked right now. You can see a little tip, decline it if you want to break that lock and have it pushed to some other time. I'm going to go look at some other weeks and you can see it's scheduling kind of at the ideal time. That's great. Oh, wait, it didn't look like it's scheduled. Where is our Tony? So it's scheduled a different day. This is actually Tony's real calendar. I have no idea what's going on with Tony's schedule. Tony might be on vacation on Thursday, but it found time on Tuesday. So you're seeing it kind of work in real life and adapt accordingly. But it looks like most Tuesday mornings are working. I want to show you what happens, though, when I'm out of the office, and particularly out of the office, and we have that okay, there you can see Jim's gone now. So that synchronizing did flow through. But because I've got this setting on, leave it on the calendar. I want to show you what's going to happen here. Most of my habits and smart one-on-ones and all those things, they're just going to disappear. You probably all have experienced this to some degree. But what's going to happen with the Tony one is in a moment, we're going to see it update not just from saying the last slot of the day, but it's going to actually say it couldn't find time to do it. So just give it a second. There's, I don't know however many meetings and things that have to be pulled off the calendar here. But momentarily, there we go. We can see it right now. It's got this little warning emoji. This is new. We didn't have this for smart one-on-ones. Instead, with smart one-on-ones, they just kind of go away. And I think we'll see that here. These are some classic smart one-on-ones. We'll also see the lunches go away in a moment. Let me reload and see if there we go. They're disappearing. So all my lunches are gone. All my other things are gone. But this Tony one did not disappear. And we did this because we were getting feedback on smart one-on-ones that sometimes it's like, people are like, what happened? Where did it go? I want to manually intervene. And so you now have the option to say, hey, if it can't be scheduled in the normal period of time that we want to schedule it, let's get it back on the calendar in that ideal spot. So that Thursday morning at 9 a.m. And then you can move it around and take control of it. And so, for example, I can say, yeah, Tony and I talked, sorry, Tony, we wouldn't actually do this, but, we decided we're going to have our meeting on Saturday morning. And so you can take control, lock it into place, re-accept it, and there you go. You've resolved that conflict. And so this is a nice feature. We recommend still using the remove it from the calendar for one-on-ones, because if one of you can't make it, you can't have much of a one-on-one for with only one person in the meeting that can make it. And so it's usually good to keep it here for one-on-ones, but it's really helpful once you're getting into multi-person meetings. We have a lot more planned later this year to help better unravel and do even smarter scheduling, where we're looking at priorities on all the attendees' calendars, and using like large language models, things like GPT, to help assess relative priority between the team. This is our first release. We aren't doing those things just yet. And so leaving it on the calendar is a really helpful way for you to manually nudge things if scheduling can't get done. Whereas removing it might create some confusion if it's a multi-person meeting, if there's no time to be booked. Okay, so that's one of the new features. The other thing I wanted to show you is Zoom integration. If you've been using our smart one-on-ones feature, you probably have experienced that the way we integrate with Zoom is a little odd. In particular, it puts a kind of different URL that isn't the normal Zoom URL. We had to do that not because we were interested in putting just changing the URL or tracking people who clicked it. We did that because we weren't a recurring meeting. Zoom had this feature they released about a year ago that would try to change the underlying Zoom meeting, and Reclaim and Zoom would get into a loop and it'd be a bad experience for you. We don't have to do that anymore. Now that these are real recurring meetings, I can go ahead and just add this as a Zoom meeting. I'm using, oh, great. Of course, I don't have the login here. Give me 1 second. Pretty sure I have an account on this one. There we go. Just, I don't know if you can all see this pop up, but I am having to log in and make a Zoom account because I forgot we hadn't set that one up. Let's go. Okay, close that, and there we go, adding the conference details. Let's reload. Let's see if, come on, Zoom. Let's try this again. Let's try logging in one more time. Oh, it now wants me to authorize. Apologies. There we go. Success. Close this window. Okay, good. We got the Zoom meeting on there. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to save it for all. I don't need to tell Tony about it. He'll just see the Zoom link on there. But what's cool is that is a normal recurring meeting. And as such, it has the same Zoom meeting naturally running through the series. And that's it. That's how you can activate Zoom. We do support activating it this way as well, where you can say add Zoom integration. Honestly, I would recommend you do it the way I just did. The reason for that is the best way to integrate Zoom into meetings. The way we do it, that other way, we don't have the ability to add it this way. It's a weird limitation between really about Google Calendar. We can't add it so that it has this nice natural Zoom, join Zoom meeting button. Instead, we'll do what you might have seen with other calendar apps, where it's just a link, but it will be a full Zoom link. It won't have that funny Reclaim redirect. So you can go either way. You can add it when you're initially creating. We'll just put a URL right in the location field and in the description, or you can do it the way I recommended. But you can also just change it. You can say, you know what, we're not doing Zoom anymore. We're switching over to Google Meet. I will note the Zoom, you can see the synchronization happened again. It's showing you there's a nice little button, and it's taking you, if you look in the bottom corner, it's got that Zoom URL right there. If I click into edit, you can see, oh no, we don't highlight it here on the edit screen. But I could change it. I could say, you know what, actually forget Zoom. We're going to switch over to Google Meet, and I'm going to save that again. And what we will see is, hopefully here in just one moment, I'm going to reload just to make sure it's got the latest state. I don't know if you can see the little link, but down in the bottom left corner, it's a Google Meet button. If I click it, it takes me into Google Meet. And let's see if our edit screen highlights that it's now a Google Meet meeting. Yeah, it does there. So we need to, we have a little bug. We have to hide the add Zoom integration when Zoom was added through the other mechanism. You might also see there's a conference room capability. I'm going to skip this for the demo today, just because we've had so much we've been going through, but we can now, if you give us access, we can now show you a drop-down list of meeting rooms, which is the same thing as picking meeting rooms from here. And so, doing something like that. I will say, we know there's more we can do here. Right now, it's just kind of a set list, and it doesn't consider the meeting room availability. But for many of you who've returned back to office and are not doing a work from home, or you're doing a hybrid office work from home, the whole challenge of finding meeting rooms that are available, we know that's a real thing. And this is the beginning of a planned feature later this year that will dynamically pick whatever room, from a list of rooms, and find the one that's available for you. Or if you're both working from home, release the room so that those in the office can use it. We think there's a lot of really cool optimization of real estate that we can do with that capability. Okay, I think I've covered almost all the headline features. There's a lot that's baked into this release. We're really excited about it. I think we'll be able to get it into everyone's hands in the next few weeks. And some of you may already have access to it as part of that private beta. Elizabeth, are there any questions that have been coming up that I should be aware of or addressing?
We have one question from our YouTube stream asking about dependencies. Will there be scope for multiple dependencies?
Currently, not right now. We started with one, but for those of you who've been with us at Reclaim, you know we are naturally a ship and iterate kind of company. And so we wanted to get just one out there, get early feedback from customers. There's nothing that prevents us from doing multiple. The underlying platform does support it, and I anticipate we will add it. Honestly, the trickiest thing with multiple dependencies is the more dependencies you add, the more the knot sort of tightens in terms of trying to find the optimal schedule. And you can get yourself in a state where nothing can be scheduled. We do break circular dependencies. We have that logic already in place, but it can get complicated. And so it's less about the picker, letting you pick multiple ones. And it's more around us figuring out how to tell you that there is no availability to schedule something because of those dependencies and really clearly communicating that. And I do want to highlight that's probably the thing with smart meetings that we're working on that you didn't see in the demo here because we still have work to do, that we think is like the number one source of feedback, is helping people understand why a meeting wasn't booked and giving them control to intervene and get it on the calendar. You saw with that kind of warning system where I was out of the office for the week, we highlight it with the emoji, and you can see here we also highlight it here. But we know there's more we can do. One of the things that we'll be rolling out very soon is a kind of my week at a glance, and it will show you all of the smart meetings that are currently having trouble getting scheduled so that you can kind of quickly identify those ones, and a daily digest that will be pushed to your inbox or to Slack to help you see those ahead of time, so that if there's a one-on-one that you've been missing, and it's really important, you want to know that, right? You don't want to get all the way through the week and then say like, oh, I forgot to catch up with Elizabeth. It does remind me, one improvement also with habits and smart meetings is we automatically kind of nudge the priority up if a period was skipped. And so a lot of you, the managers in the audience, I'm sure feel this way. It's like, look, it's okay to skip a one-on-one, once in a while, but skipping a one-on-one 2 weeks in a row is really, unacceptable for you as the manager, and it sends the wrong signal to the person on your team. And so we do some interesting things, like let's say your calendar is just jam-packed and there really is no other way to get a one-on-one with two people. It's like one has to give. Well, what you'll find is that with this new platform, it will alternate weeks between the people naturally for you. Obviously, you'd probably want to set expectations and change it to a bi-weekly meeting if there's really no room. But previously with Smart One-on-Ones, it would sort of always pick, one person, and the other person would be iced out and never get the meeting scheduled. Because of this new scheduling behavior, we will try to rotate it through and get you better coverage, even if it's not at the ideal periodicity that you were looking for. So that's a nice underlying improvement that's a little hard to appreciate at first, but I think you'll like it. Okay.
I don't think
Elizabeth, anything more that I missed on the demo beyond questions from the audience? I know you've been looking closely at this feature as we get ready to launch it. Any other things that we should cover, or should we wrap up?
I've been looking through all of our headline improvements. I think we covered pretty much everything. If we wanted to touch on sort of seamless integrations with, we touched on Zoom, but like Lattice and Fellow and more.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Might be a quick
Yeah, I won't demo it here, but we know a lot of you are using platforms like Lattice or Fellow. If you're not familiar with them, they are platforms that can help your organization manage its goals and help you kind of plan and prepare and follow up as you go meeting to meeting and kind of tie it back to the projects and goals of your organization. Our Smart One-on-Ones feature basically wasn't compatible with Lattice or Fellow and other kinds of products because those products assumed you only would do one-on-ones or other kind of team meetings via a recurring meeting. And we were not doing recurring meetings with Smart One-on-Ones. We are now. And so just naturally, our stuff shows up there. And so there's a great compatibility layer, not only with Zoom, as you saw, but also with those types of products. So we hope that's also welcome to some of you.
So I know we're at time here. If there's any last minute questions, feel free to drop those in. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. Patrick, thank you so much for demoing everything so seamlessly. Yeah, I'll stick around for another second here. Otherwise, hope you have a great Thursday and Friday and great weekend ahead. We're so excited to be bringing smart meetings to everyone soon. I did drop the beta waitlist if you haven't signed up already in the chat for the webinar, and it will be included in our follow-up email. I don't see any other questions coming in. So Patrick, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Have a
Take
great
care. Bye bye.
Bye.